Hello, today is Friday, the 24th of October, 2025. I'm Jason Shapiro. So I saw a few markets today that have something in common. The NASDAQ, the S&P, the Dow, the Korean stock market, the Taiwan stock market, and the Japan stock market, and very close to Euro stocks. And of course, what do they have in common? They've all closed at all-time highs. And, we can argue that AI is hype. We can argue that AI is not hype, but that it's overvalued. And we can do that all day, and we can argue a million other bearish things if that's what we want to as well. But there's the most important thing. The stock markets are on all-time highs, which by definition means we are in a bull market, and we don't want to be short bull markets. We want to be long bull markets. We want to be short bear markets, okay? It's really not that hard if you think about it that way. You can be bearish, and you can have all your bearish reasons, and I'm not here to argue with any of them. But until the market agrees with you, it's silly. You're fighting the tape, and you're losing money, and that sucks. So think about that. As for today's markets, again, yes, the stock market closed all-time highs. The CPI came out. We finally got some data. And not to anybody's surprise, I think, it was friendlier than expected. And the market gapped up. Interesting to me that you only made money on this by the end of the day if you were in it before the news. There was no free ride here, right? I mean, you made a little bit of money intraday if you got long after, but there was more pain than anything, and you didn't end up anywhere. And that's pretty efficient, right? You only make money intraday, not only, but most of the time, when you're buying when others don't want to buy, when there's no free news to say, hey, it's bullish, so get long, right? If you're going to get this free news, hey, it's bullish, so get long, you had to have been in before. Market doesn't give you that gift. This is the S&P, right? The same thing, right? You didn't really get that free money thing. So just an observation there. Can it happen that we get good news and it gaps up and runs? Yes, but it's rare. And in particular on a day like today where, let's face it, most people knew that this number was going to come out, better than expected. The whole conspiracy of otherwise. Why were they releasing it to begin with? And of course, we know why they're not releasing it. Because the government is closed and not releasing data that we need and that other people need and other things that other people need. And yet, of course, they're still paying themselves their salary. Thank you, Congress. You guys are awesome. Love you guys. It's where the world we live in. And look, there's more bearish argument. I hate that. I think it's scum. I think they're shit. But you know what? I shorten the stock market because of it, because then I'd be losing money, and that would be even worse. Gold, again, I didn't think had a very impressive day today. Gold, silver, and the metals. And I've talked about this, and I was talking about this yesterday. We're told by a lot of people that the stock market's in a bubble. And we're not told by very many people that gold and the metals are in a bubble. Those are going up because of fundamental reasons. The stock market's in a bubble. I will, as always, mostly based on the fact that positioning is saying it, and I think sentiment is saying it, I'll take the other side. Which is to say, if there is a bubble, I'll call it, and I've said this for a few weeks now, if there is a bubble, I would say it was more in the metals and crypto. And not necessarily crypto, but certainly, as people like to call them, meme coins or something, or altcoins or shit coins. I like to say I call them things that absolutely have zero intrinsic value and never will have any intrinsic value. Those things are the bubble. And we're starting to see that because the stock market just made an all-time high. Gold is hovering, is holding below after having sort of that blow-off type of move. Silver too, right? So, and even Bitcoin. And I wasn't specifically talking about Bitcoin when I was talking about bubble and crypto, but look at how poorly Bitcoin's done. Which brings me to the whole dollar debasement thing. You want to talk contrarian? I think that the single most contrarian thing that you could come up with right now is the anti-dollar debasement trade, which would be long dollar, short gold, and Bitcoin against it. Ridiculous. Okay, you just laughed out of the room. What I have found in my career, and there's many times you can go back and look at some of my videos and see this, those are the best trades, are the ones that get you laughed out of the room. Not always, okay? They don't always work. It's a risk reward thing, or I should say the risk reward of putting on the trade that gets you laughed out of the room is by definition way greater than putting on some kind of consensus trade. You need to use risk management for when those trades are wrong. You need the market to confirm what you are doing. But I'm just saying, if someone can think of a more contrarian idea than the anti-dollar debasement trade, or if you can think of another way to play it too, I'd love to hear it. Put it in the comments. Love to hear it. I don't think there's a more contrarian trade out there right now than that. Like I say, does it, just because it's contrarian, does it work? No. I've said many times there's a fine line between contrarian and just plain stupid, which is why you got to watch your risk and all that. But just saying, I don't think there's a more contrarian trade out there. And that's really all I have to say today. There wasn't anything else really too exciting that went on, other than, look, like the dollar, right, was flat today after obviously on the weekend number going way down. And then it rebounded, right? This was on the number, okay? The dollar index obviously got railed and somebody maybe fat fingered, but it was certainly going down on the number, came back, right? Bonds, did end up down, went straight up on the number, as you would expect, came straight down, closed down, which is no surprise. I don't think the long end at some point saying we're not going to like this anymore, or this is going to be inflationary, or this is going to be good for growth, both which are arguably worse than the long end. That's not the big surprise. 5 years closing down today, 2 years closing down today, that to me was a little surprise and maybe a little bit of a warning shot across the bow for bonds. So something to think about. We are obviously going to have FOMC next week, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think they announced Wednesday afternoon, 2:00, what they're going to do. Watching how the market reacts to this stuff will be super interesting and probably super important. So let's look forward to that, and let's try not to fade the bull market. Okay, it's just an unprofitable situation. All right. Thank you. Hope a nice weekend. Hope everyone's doing it right out there. Please like the video if you like it, and we will talk again next week. Thank you. Hi, I just wanted to say, if you like these daily videos, we do them 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, for people, and it costs, $10 a month. And I try to include a lot of other lessons as I go through, as you see in the daily videos as well. For that $10 a month, you also get our COT charts on equity indices and crypto. So if you think that's worth it, give it a shot. All right. And we hope to see you there. Thanks.